What's up, everybody? Here for our June meetup, minus the front slide already. So we'll just skip through that one. We're so excited tonight. We have an amazing guest, Ricky Mendez. He has been a good friend of ours for about a year now, and is just an incredible speaker, great motivator, and no better time than now to get some motivation in. We're about to just hop into about who we are. Steve and I are going to talk a little bit about partnerships tonight. We've been talking a lot about it lately and thought it'd be cool to bring to you guys. Ricky's going to speak for a little bit, and then we'll be closing her out probably around 7:30 or so. So we won't take up too much of your guys' time tonight. If you have videos on, it's nice for us to speak and see you. So if you can leave them on, if you're comfortable with that, that's great. It's nicer than speaking to a bunch of blank faces. Oh, there we go. So in the chat, if you're opening up the chat, if you go into your browser there and click on the chat button, let us know where you're from. Just say where you're from, where you're visiting from, or sorry, where you're watching from, and we'd love to just hear from you.
Yeah, we got people from at least 2 different countries and probably 4 different time zones.
When I was looking at the registration, there was people from all across Canada, from east to west, literally like Victoria all the way through to PEI basically. And then there's people down through the States as well. So pretty cool that we have a huge audience tonight from around the thing. So who are the REINVESTORS? I'm Randy, that is Steve. Together we make the REINVESTORS. Most of you have heard our story before. If you haven't, we started a real estate investment educational group with a monthly meetup involved in it. This is about 4 years now that we've been doing it. We just had our 4-year anniversary last month, where we just bring in different service providers to help support real estate investors. So mortgage brokers, accountants, lawyers, real estate agents, and the group just started to grow. We grew to about 100 people monthly locally here in Victoria. And since we've all had to go online, we've shifted online, which is great because it allows us to present to more people across the country. Steve and I, as investors, are always investing. We've invested in everything from single family to small multifamily to development, and are now working on some land assemblies and some developments and been doing some really cool stuff. We specialize in joint venture partnerships, raising capital, and finding very good cash flowing creative deals. And our mission statement is, we are on a mission to financially educate 1 million people and inspire them to invest in real estate so that they can start living a more fulfilled life. Our mission statement's broken out. Financial education we found is one of the biggest things that was missing in this world. That is this meetup group. Inspire them to invest in real estate is something Steve and I decided when we said we will always be investing in real estate ourselves, and then living the more fulfilled life. That's allowing people to actually have that freedom, that fun, that ability to give back, the ability to do more, and that all comes from the freedom that real estate offers to you.
But we also believe in making a big difference. So as you guys know, we're huge supporters of Kids Sport Victoria. Typically in our in-person meetups, we generate anywhere from $300 a month to $1,000 a month that we completely donate to Kids Sport Victoria. I just want to give them a special shout out, especially for this month. Obviously through COVID, there's been a lot less donations to Kids Sport, but this month marks their 20th anniversary for here in Victoria. So I would just, if you can, if you've got some cash to spare, thank God for CERB. If you can, hop on to Kids Sport Victoria and give them some special love. If it's $5, great. If it's 5,000, even better. But anything you can, that'd be really great. And it goes a long way for supporting our Victoria community. And we're huge supporters of putting kids through sports because you just get so much more life experience out of sports than many other areas as kids growing up. So it's carved Randy and I into the men and business people that we are today. And we attribute a lot of that to either our parents probably and sport. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sure. Big shout out to our sponsors, as always. In person, these people come every month to speak and support. I saw Megan Becker somewhere on the call here from Century West Financial. She's amazing. She does a lot of work with people on getting their finances right, as well as making sure they have the right insurances for real estate investing, and is actively investing herself. She is just building some new houses right now. So if you want to talk real estate and finances, she's the best. Burkhart Construction Management, taking care of all the construction needs around the Victoria area for us. The Green Mortgage Team, they work across Canada. A lot of you have probably heard of them. They specialize in working with investment specific investors. So they are absolutely amazing. I love them. RealFile, again, across Canada. We try and get as many across Canada guys as we can. RealFile CPAs, they deal with a lot of people on the accounting side, making sure that you are walking the line but not going over it, and have very good experience in working with advanced portfolios in real estate investing. And Sitka Law just got rated one of the top law firms here in Victoria. They're absolutely amazing to deal with, and they do a ton of closings. And then the Prime Real Estate team, Kyle Kerr is just absolutely phenomenal when it comes to knowledge and stats. He was the president of VREB for a long time, and is just an absolute lights out guy. So without our sponsors, we would not be able to host this and do this the way we do. And they've been supporting us for 4 years. So always have to give them a shout out every single month.
And RealFile too is international. They work a lot with investors who invest in the States as well. But we're really excited. Like we've been putting together this road trip that we've been doing, interviewing people from all across the country, digging into some interesting markets, learning about where you can actually find cap rates, above 2.5–3%, like you do here in BC and the island. I see a couple of grins. I know who you are. And so we've had a lot of fun interviewing a lot of cool people, and this premieres next week. So stay tuned for a bunch of cool videos, which will be launching in our community. So if you're not a part of our community, all you got to do is hop on Facebook, look up the REINVESTORS community, and it's the only group there that'll make sense. If you're not a part of it, what you can expect is just a whole bunch of great communication. There's investors from all across the country. It's a little bit more like BC and Vancouver Island specific, but it's a great place to get started. It's a great place to meet new people. It's a great place to network, great place to ask questions. And there's 2 or 3 posts a day on average that keep our minds stimulated with.
500 plus members now.
500 plus. Yeah, we hit 500 plus last week, which is pretty exciting.
Cool. So just jumping into it, guys. I'm so excited. Steve and I are going to present a little bit here. I'm going to present a little bit on how we've been able to formulate some of our partnerships through our networking abilities and what it's actually opened up the doors for us to do. And then Steve's going to jump in and talk a little bit about actually how to formulate a joint venture partnership and what are some of the key roles as a working partner and as a money partner to be able to put that formula together. So I think it's going to be a very good presentation, very valuable for a lot of you at the times that we're in right now. One of our mentors, Cole Hatter, in 2019 said the future of business is going to be done through partnerships. He's done a ton of partnerships, and that is how he is quadrupling his net worth right now, is through partnerships with other people. He said that to us about a year ago. Steve and I took that. We started to run with it. We started building bigger networks, looking at partnerships instead of trying to do everything ourselves, not just joint ventures, but everything in business that we're doing. Just a few weeks ago, Cole said to us that he felt like he needed a change. So he picked up his phone and called a dozen friends and said, why aren't we making money together? And I thought that's just a cool concept. So many of us are so scared to phone our friends and say, hey, why aren't we making money together? If you have money and I know how to do this, or we both have money, why don't we go do this together? I'm actually just helping my roommate right now with one of his friends go buy an investment property together so that they can actually start getting ahead. So I thought this was kind of a cool concept of so many people think it's so foreign to call your friends and say, hey, why aren't we making money together? But that's what the successful people in the world are doing. They're just calling each other and saying, yo, why aren't we making money together right now? And that is the new era of what the things look like. And basically what it comes down to is I'd rather make 50% of something than 100% of nothing. Right? I'll say it again. I'd rather make 50% of something than 100% of nothing. So if you're not going to be able to buy that investment property yourself, and all of a sudden you have a friend that says, hey, I'll come in for 30–40% to help you get it. And you're like, oh, I don't want to give up that much. We have 100% of nothing currently. Are you willing to give up portions of that to at least get something? And that's what a lot of joint venture partnerships are. A lot of the times we'll see 50-50 partnerships. One party doesn't have money, but has all the skills, where another party has the money, but doesn't have the skills, and you come together and you both can go do multiple properties. So I'd rather have a part of something than 100% of nothing. So our mindset before we heard this statement and before we were really getting started was, not clear on what the benefits were of networking. I'm sure some of you can relate to this. I'm too busy to connect with new people, or there's not enough time in the day. How many of you have heard that? Wave your hand to me if you've heard that one before. Hey, I'm too busy to connect. It just doesn't work for me. It happens all the time. You know, I didn't know how to start a conversation or where to meet somebody. Where do you meet somebody, right? Getting out to networking meetings, things like that. This is the mindset that we had. We thought partnerships would cost us money. We thought, oh man, if something goes bad or something goes wrong, we're going to lose money in this. We lose 50% of the deal. We lose 20% of the deal. We're losing money in this. We always undervalued what we brought to the table. We always said, man, we don't bring enough to the table to sit at the table with those people. We don't bring value to this partnership. We're not worthy of having the percentage that we own. And we never saw value in giving up that portion of the profit. Now we shifted our mindset and changed it. And now we dedicate time in our calendars for networking all the time. If you guys post inside the Reinvestors community, you'll see Steve or I respond to it almost instantly. We want to start the conversations. We love that. We sourced out a bunch of different communities of like-minded people. There's quite a few people on this call right now that run various different meetup groups. By going in there, networking, getting involved, and being a face, we get a lot more contacts and a lot more people to talk to and actually reaching out to them. We started an interview series. That's the road trip. The reason why we did that is we wanted to challenge ourselves. We wanted to reach out more to people across Canada to find out what's going on. As soon as we started this road trip, now we've expanded our horizon. We know a lot more people. We have a lot more contacts in every different province, and it's continuously growing. They're introducing us to more and more people. We realized, the right partners for us were also looking for the same thing. If we were looking for money, they were looking for work, or they didn't want to do the work. So we realized that, the things that we were looking for filled a void for a lot of other people. And we started seeing the value in what we offered. And then we saw a huge value as well in connecting skill sets and network to just create something bigger, right? Instead of just looking at something and saying, wow, we could do this, cool idea. How many people can we bring in to make it even better and bigger and more extravagant? And I just want to run you guys through a few examples. This is just in the past year and a half that Steve and I have been practicing networking. Nothing special, nothing bigger other than just networking and getting to know people. We partnered with a developer on a 6-unit complex. I met the guy by doing electrical work. I was doing electrical work for this contractor back in the day. I met him, we introduced him, and then we started doing a 6-plex together. We just partnered on a 12-lot subdivision with a developer, and we're in the midst of discussing a 35-unit apartment building with him. And we met this guy through friends of friends in the industry. It wasn't like we sourced him out or anything, just mutually came together. We're currently negotiating a 120-lot subdivision as a partnership with the owner. We had never met this guy. Steve's met him once, and we met him from somebody on his job site introduced us to him. We're finalizing a partnership on our mastermind that we're just about to launch. It's going to be absolutely incredible. And by doing the partnership, it is going to 10 times the benefit of this mastermind. And we did that because it's just going to be so much more valuable for everyone involved. The person we're partnering with, we literally met in February randomly because I saw an online video of this person. I was like, what, dude, you're cool. Let's just chat and see if there's something here. Like, how cool is that, from an online video in February to partnering together on some projects? We're in the middle of negotiating, just working with another working partner. Steve and I are very busy. We don't have a lot of time to manage properties and deal with contracts and stuff. And we have another working partner in our circle who wants to do that kind of stuff. So we're actually partnering together on some single family homes now. So that's going to free up our time and stuff. And we met this guy through our monthly meetup. Came, started hanging out with us, got to know us. Now we became good friends. Now we're partners. And just in the past 5 months from putting in extra work, we've had more partnerships in the past 3 years. These are just a few examples. I want to show you guys how easy it is to build partnerships and how you can leverage them to start getting ahead. And this is my favorite one. Just the other night, I had my girlfriend over for dinner and her friend, and she brought a friend. And we're just sitting there having beers. And it turns out she's the assistant for a tech company. That's all I knew. So we started chatting a little bit. That company is actually looking to partner with a real estate investment group on some big projects. She's introduced us now. We've been in some cool talks, and it's a real cool thing. This girl and I had no business talking real estate as soon as we met. We were just, at my girlfriend's house, having a beer, hanging out, nothing to do with work, not professionally related in any means. First time I had met her. And then I just told her, yeah, I like to buy real estate. I'm in real estate investing. Here's a little group I have. She introduced us now. So if you don't put yourself out there, you never know what opportunities you could be missing on. If I didn't tell her that I was a real estate investor and this was my profession, I would have completely missed out on this opportunity to work with a massive tech company on creating some incredible stuff for the industry. So there's huge value in there and just putting yourself there out and networking. And that was something that Steve and I wanted to showcase tonight, was just that value of putting in the work. So many people hate it. I hate it. Steve hates it. It's a lot of work. It's time consuming, but it's been so beneficial for our business that now we're enjoying it. Now it's like, I actually want to make those connections, because you never know what circle is going to go or where things are going to connect. And so I'll leave you guys with this. Your future is created by what you do today, not what you do tomorrow. So what are you going to do today to make a new connection? Are you going to look at somebody on this call and say, hey, I just want to reach out to that person. They've got their video on. They must be somebody who's active or somebody who wants to be a part of this, and just reach out and build a connection. You never know what it's going to look like.
Beauty. Well done, man. And yeah, we've seen extraordinary growth once we've kind of taken that mindset of there's plenty of kind of pie to go around, right? And partnerships, I think it's a great way to scale, especially if it's just a real estate portfolio, but also in just multiple different businesses. You know, we're in multiple different talks of obviously developers and partnerships for masterminds and stuff. But that can be as far as partnering on a business together, whether it be open up a bakery or whatever. So getting to know how to kind of put together a partnership is really important. And I think most people here on the call know the general structure of a joint venture partnership. It's typically you have your financial partner and you have your working partner, and you come together with an agreement to, set out the rules and responsibilities, what the expectations are like, all of the what ifs, what happens if I die, what happens if you die, what happens if, the place goes up in flames, etc. All that's broken out into a joint venture partnership. But how do you get to that point? And so what I'm more so talking about here today is the actual pitch of a joint venture partnership. So, hey, Randy, my name is Steve. Let's get together, set up a meeting so I can talk about a property. How do I go from here moving forward? So the first part there is you have to know your business. You have to know we're talking real estate here, and I'm just going to use general rule of thumb, like up, down, suite, duplex, triplex, whatever. You have to know your business. You have to know what the average sale prices of that type of product are, regardless of what the product is. If it's commercial, if it's multifamily, if it's single family, whatever the trends are looking like, you have to become like an expert in your space. So everything you possibly can to just immerse yourself into that market. You got to know what neighborhoods are up and coming. You got to know what distance you are away from grocery stores and from transportation. You got to know if you're close or on the border of the hood or something along those lines. What kind of risks you have in place? For example, like the hospital in Duncan. Right, there's a new hospital going in Duncan. Now, is the property value around the old hospital going to change with the new hospital going across town? That could be a risk. Something along those lines, what's going on in the city, if there's new developments, if there's new zoning going through, if there's upgrades to infrastructure, transportation. Policy is a big one, especially here in Victoria. We got 13 different municipalities to work with just in the CRD alone, plus everything up the island. And so you really have to know what municipalities are, pro suites or pro development. Having that type of information and that depth is really going to set you apart. A lot of what we like to do is look for value add properties as well, right? So we can force appreciation. You got to know what your renovations are going to cost. Down to a science is always good. If it's your first project or your first flip or something along those lines, take a general contractor with you and get a quote done before you even come to the point of taking a pitch. You got to know what every dollar is accounted for, what it's going to pay off at the end, and then timeline. Obviously, timeline's a super important one. If it's going to be a 3-month turnaround for a renovation, if it's going to be a 5 or 10 year buy and hold, if it's going to be a quick flip, if it's going to be a wholesale, whatever that looks like, and then your JV contract details, all of those what ifs that gets put into place. All of this stuff you need to be an absolute expert in. So even if it's your first one, take a month and just immerse yourself in this product, in the market, in the joint venture, in everything you can, so that when you come to the table and ready to rock and roll, you have at least the answer for 95% of the questions that your joint venture partner puts out to you. And that 5%, what do you say, Randy?
Caught me.
Yeah, it's all good. Your say on that one? You know what? That's a great question. I don't know the answer, but I know the person who knows that answer. So that's one other thing you need to know is just you have to have contacts in every different space so that if you do get caught with like, hey, what's an oil tank going to cost? You know what that expense is going to be. Next slide, please. So when you're getting to that point where you are putting, thanks, man. When you are putting a deal on the table, you want to make it about them as much as possible. And so if you come up to the table and you're like, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want, the value may not come across as strong as if you come to with the approach of, hey, what can I do for you? What problems can I solve? What do you want out of this? Let me reverse engineer this thing so that I can go find exactly what you want. Because if you go find exactly what they want, they can't say no, right? So get to know what they want, what their wants and needs are. If they want a lot of cash flow, if they're okay with a little bit of cash flow, maybe they want a high ROI and want to get all of their money back out and they don't care about cash flow. Maybe they're just looking for great security, great long-term upside. You want to talk about their future goals. Timeline is important, right? So you want to make sure that this property, matches what their 5-10 year plan looks like. Something that we like to do with a lot of our investors is Randy and I have both done personality tests, and we share those with our partners in the initial stages and invite them to do the same. And a great thing with that is they'll see that Randy's a huge innovative thinker, and they'll see that I am a very analytical, data-driven person. And so from that, if they've got analytical questions, they're going to come straight to me. If they want to talk about huge upsides, they want to talk to Randy. And so same thing goes for your joint venture partner is in the initial stages, it's a great thing to understand how they want to be communicated. We've had partners that are very analytical, and I'll take point on that. And we've had partners who don't even care what the numbers are and just want to see that the building's still standing. And they'll talk to Randy about that. And so having the ability to know how they like to be communicated to or communicated with, as well as what type of information they want prioritized, whether it be data or not, that's a really good leg up that most of the people won't do. Take notes of what they like. So if you meet at Starbucks, when Starbucks opens again, take note of what drink they order. And then for the next time that you guys meet, have that ready to go for them. And if it's beer, or if it's pizza or whatever, just kind of take note of that because it really just makes you stand out. And when you're doing a pitch, you want to do everything you possibly can, whether it's a 1% increase or a 20% increase. Every percentage counts, and you want to do everything that you can to stand out and be recognized and remembered. Rapport is the number one thing you got to be thinking from day one. From the minute you hop on the first phone call, from the minute you meet them in the first meetup, and all the way through, it's all about how can I continue to build more and more rapport. People do business with people they like. And so the faster and harder you can get into that like column, the more business you're going to do. And then kind of last but not least is credibility and experience. A lot of times what I will do in a pitch is I'll talk so much about them and what they want and perhaps the deal and that kind of stuff that I don't even whisper about me. But what happens with that is they see that you're really, really interested in them and what they're up to. And then they end up driving the conversation back at me. They start asking a bunch of questions that are important to them about who I am. And instead of me wasting time telling them all about my history of real estate, maybe they don't care. And all they want to know is how analytical am I, or something along those lines. So if you can get them in the driver's seat asking questions about you, you know that you're in the right position. And then having something like unique about you. What is something that is going to separate you from the crowd? Come prepared. Oh my God, I can't tell you how important this is. And it seems like a given, right? It's really not. I would say 60 to 70% of people do not come prepared. So if you can stand out again and just do what you think is respectable by coming prepared like you normally would, that's going to separate you from most of the people out there. And it's real just basic. Come early, present yourself well, know your shit, and get into the numbers, know your numbers and how you can back that up. So if you're talking about $1,400 2-bedroom rentals in Duncan, great. I'm going to show you all the data I have to support that and why we're so comfortable with that number. You want to know exit strategies. You want to know who the people on your team need to be. If it's a turnkey project, you're not going to need tradespeople to walk in there. If it's a value add play, then you're going to want to know and talk about, or at least mention, yeah, we've got a whole team in place. We've used them before. We know our numbers. All we do is just dump and repeat. And you want to know who your mortgage brokers are going to be, who your agent's going to be, and on negotiation, all that kind of stuff. You want to be able to speak to their expertises and how your relationship has become. And then something that is, I don't know, like a ninja tip in a way, is if you can, schedule time to make sure that you do some research on your partner. And this goes a long way on, can you go back a slide real quick? This goes a long way on just building rapport. Number 2 there, if you can do a little bit of homework on your person, and if you looked into Randy's or my social medias, you would see that we love sports, we love business, we love real estate. So if you saw that I'm a Canucks fan, and you come up and be like, hey man, Canucks making the playoffs, what do you think? I'm already in love with you. And if I said earlier that I only do business with people I like, you're already in my good books. So if you can do that homework on them, it shows that you went the extra effort, and it's an immediate, quick, like, icebreaker. And so having that in your repertoire to step out of the gates on a good note, first impressions mean a lot.
You come in and you say you're an Edmonton fan, I mean, you probably won't even get a meeting with us. So
yeah, you're probably right. And so it gives you a common ground. Oftentimes, like, there can be just a level of intimidation, right? Like, flow. And one thing that I always start off with, other than my hey, how's going, your little intro warm up type of thing, is you always want to ask how much time they have. Because if you didn't establish that up front, and you get into your pitch and they only had half an hour and you're at that 29-minute mark and they're like, oh, sorry, I gotta run, and you haven't had time to get all the way through it, that is not a good position to be in. It feels awkward. You got to set up another time to communicate and that kind of stuff. Whereas up front, it's like, yeah, how much time have you got to work with? And they say 35 minutes at max. You know that you've practiced, so you know exactly how long it's going to take you to go through it. And you can either hit fast forward button, skip some sessions, or if you've got plenty of time, take your time, allow questions and stuff to come up and take place. Early in the call as well, or maybe right after that timepiece, you'll always want to define what your outcome is going to be. And this is a classic just sales tactic. Regardless if you're closing a deal, if you're negotiating, if you just want to, it doesn't matter what your pitch is going to be. You want to define your outcome. And if it's your initial one, or if it's your 5th one where you're actually closing the deal, you still want to define that outcome. In that initial stages, it's just like, hey guys, like, this outcome, the outcome of today's meeting is just to give you all the details that you need so that you can go home, sit on it for a couple of days, email me a bunch of questions and like sort through it all. Or if you're midway through, hey, the outcome of this one is to answer all your final questions and see if you want to close this deal with me. And so defining your outcome sets the expectation so that they know at the end of this call exactly what to be prepared for. So it's really important to do that. A little awkward at times, so that's why you got to practice it. I always like to start simply. And so my simple is just write it so a 5th grader can understand you. And it's, hey, this is a 3-bed, 2-bed out where we're going to do a quick and easy renovation. It's a great neighborhood, and it's going to cost $150 to get in, and your cash flow is going to be $800 a month. Real simple, straight to the point, get to it. Now it's in their mind, and now they can watch as you get deeper into the project exactly how you got to those types of numbers. And so it's kind of like setting out that outcome, but start at at a top level place, and then you get deeper into it as you go. You always want to kind of cater to their needs and wants as well. And so if they're really strong on cash flow, and if cash flow is like the only thing that's important to them, you want to start off highlighting how you're going to create that cash flow. If ROI is what they want, then they don't really care about cash flow. There's no point starting off talking about $1,000 cash flow if it was impossible to find cash flow, because it's not important to them. Start off with what's important to them so they know exactly that you know what they want. And that connection is really, really powerful in this game. And then as you kind of get into it, you get into an overview. Make sure you allow some time for Q&A, because if you give a quick overview, there's going to be plenty of questions that they're going to have, and you want to make sure that you have that time allotted for that type of Q&A. And if it is a really short meeting, you want to make sure that you have Q&A, because you want to almost let them be in the driver's seat and ask the questions for the details that they specifically want. Whereas if it's an hour-long thing, you can go into a 45-minute pitch on it, go on and cover all the details, and then there might only be 1 or 2 questions at the end of it. You want to make sure that you share your wants as well. So you know what they want because you've had initial conversations, or maybe this is your first conversation and they've answered what they want. You want to make sure that your wants are being heard as well. Because if this is going to be typically in real estate, your partnerships are years on years. And so if you're getting married to somebody for multiple years, you want to make sure that you blend well. So if I want cash flow and I want it all, and my partner also wants all the cash flow, that partnership's not going to work out very well. So you want to make sure that you're expressing what you want, because you want to find the right partner for you and for your deals. And then you want to make sure you get through the entire pitch. And that's why it's so important to ask what kind of time you have up front, because if you get through that halfway mark and then got to run, now you're kind of sitting there looking like a goof, and you're not feeling very good about it either. And so your energy kind of comes across, not as high as it could be or should be. Oops. The second to last thing you need to do is Jerry Maguire. You gotta ask for the deal. And this is the number one mistake I see so many people do. My background is entirely sales and marketing. I've been in sales since I was 14 years old, 32 now, so almost 20 years, which is mind-boggling. All of a sudden, I'm freaking out. But so many people do not ask for the deal, and they just pitch all the numbers. They sit back and go, all right, well, talk to you next week. And because they don't want to have that awkward moment where the joint venture possibly says no. So if you do not ask for the deal, you are not going to get the deal most times. If you ask for the deal, it puts pressure on them to be able to either say no, which gives you the opportunity to say, okay, well, why? Let me dig into that a little bit, because if you said no to this one, maybe it's just a misunderstanding, or maybe it's just not the right deal, and I want to know so I don't waste your time again, so I can go find you the right deal for you. And it also just gives the onus to them. It's like, yeah, you know what? This is the right type of deal I'm looking for. Let's be on the same page to make whatever the next steps are. And finally, your follow-up game has to be on point. There's no point in doing these types of networking or this type of meeting or doing a joint venture pitch or something along those lines and not being able to follow up. So have some sort of tracking software. Excel is easy enough where it's just like categorize it like investor's name, what they're interested in, their email, phone number, and whatever kind of notes you have on them. That could be super simple. And then also just put in there a date that you contacted them last, and a date that you're going to reach out to them again. And having as much info in that as possible is great. If you need a CRM to get to that point, awesome. But Excel has worked for us. We've done some CRMs in the past, but anything that you can do to track it is good. Take notes during the meeting as well. And so if you say like, hey, you know what, next, let's say tomorrow, I'm going to send you like our summary package for this. Make sure that you're committing to and executing what you say you're going to do. And so oftentimes in a meeting, you're talking really fast and you're trying to get through it all and you're panicking at times, that kind of stuff. Well, what taking notes allows you to do is take a breath as well. Take a breather and make sure you're not missing anything. Because if you come across like you're missing stuff, they're not going to like that at all. So if you say in the middle of pitch while they're talking or you're talking, and you say, hey, is it okay if I just like pause for a second? Can I take notes real quick? They're going to appreciate that above most things. Like compared to wondering if you're getting all of this, make sure you're taking notes because it's really important. Same with personal notes as well. If they drop a bomb on like saying, yeah, I'm really interested in figure skating, great, write that down and look for articles, that are relevant to figure skating. Could be strategy. Maybe they're really interested in, a BRRRR method or passive investing or whatever, lifestyle, etc. Do what you say you're going to do, and then stay in touch. The more you stay in touch, it's an interesting little balance. You have to, not piss them off or bug them, but you have to make sure that you're building a relationship and you're continuing that kind of engine. And so that's why a tracking software, even just like Excel, is great, because you can put in there, and every time you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, you know what? Next week I got to follow up with Ricky. Next week I got to follow up with Debbie, blah, blah, blah. And so that is basically how you do. And the format and structure of a pitch. I'm going to stop my screen there real quick and just open it up for any type of Q&A.
I saw some questions there, Steve. I was just going to get Ricky in here. We're getting a little bit tight on time. So I just want to get Ricky going in here, and then we can come back and answer some questions maybe after.
Cool. Yeah, that works.
So do you
Can
want
I get a thumbs up if somebody liked that even?
Oh, yeah.
Usually in person. There we go. Thanks, everybody.
I'll give you a little.
I can sleep at night.
I'll boost Steve's ego for him.
Right? In person, man, you get the applause and you get the energy and stuff. And here I'm looking at a screen full of sleepers.
You want to bring that next one up? Or you want me to?
You do it.
Right here. Next up, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Ricky Mendez. Steve and I met Ricky Mendez. He's a part of our mastermind that we're a part of down in San Diego, the Thrive Connect group that a lot of you hear us talk about all the time, that's ran by Cole Hatter. And we got connected to him through there. And he actually did a presentation for us while we were down there. And just the way this guy speaks, the energy he brings to the room, and the attention to wanting to implement stuff, not just to make it so that you take it in and get motivated for a day. He makes it so you're implemented and motivated for the year. This guy is unreal. So he does have a very good social media following. If you want to give him a quick little shout or a quick follow at Ricky Mendez Speaks on Instagram, maybe tag a little photo of him. He loves that kind of stuff. And without further ado, I'm just going to let him introduce himself and get going on this. Ricky Mendez, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it. And I think, let me see if, oh no, you guys already gave me a screen. That's great. Awesome. So number one, huge fan of Randy and Steve. And Randy and Steve, I met, yes, at Cole's mastermind, but it was one of the more emotional moments that I've ever been in any mastermind, when Steve spoke up and he did one, I think, the greatest skill on the planet is, number one, he was vulnerable. Two, he asked for help. And it was probably one of the coolest dynamics and moments out of any mastermind. I've been in a lot of them. Last year, I spent $100,000 to be a part of 3 of them. And that was one of the coolest moments. So I would ask Steve about that. I don't want to get into it too much, but, and then these guys reach out to me, and I'm listening as they're talking. And I think this is the greatest time to be alive. Hands down, right now, it's the greatest time to be alive, because I don't know if we'll ever have another time to acquire new skills, to expand our minds to what's possible, and to what these guys have just talked about for about 30, 40 minutes is grow relationships. It's the greatest time ever to grow relationships. And I took a picture of what Cole said, because I didn't know he said that. And I think that's one of the greatest things in the last 3 months. Hopefully people have taken advantage of it. And the reason why people want to take advantage of it is because they will never have another time to grow relationships like we do right now. And even though the world's starting to open up, there is going to be a wake of people, a wake of businesses that were lost, a wake of people's lives that they think may have been ruined. Bullshit, like flat out. If they pivot and adapt, it could be the greatest time of their lives based on relationships that they grow. So I think it's the greatest time to be alive, because it's the greatest time to make an impact. And in our lifetime, maybe not my mother, and just to touch on this, because I think it's necessary, but my mother marched from Selma to Montgomery with Dr. King when he did that. And in our lifetimes, I don't know there will be another greater time to listen and speak up than right now for equality for everybody. So I think that's something like, and me personally, I've had a lot of Black friends, and I'm listening more than I ever have. And I think that's, again, why it's a great time to be alive. There's the greatest time to acquire new skills, expand our minds, pivot our businesses and really grow relationships. So I just want to touch on that before I get into I got a PowerPoint and stuff like that. But as I go through it, I want people to dream. I think we want to bring dreaming back. Like, dreaming is cool, and we want to know what's possible. Look, there's two ways we can go about this coronavirus and this COVID. And I mean, if you look at this year, an entire country was burnt on fire. We had a global pandemic, and then we have literally in our lifetime some of the most unjust things that are most seeable and viewable than we'll ever see. So the world is pumped full of fear, absolutely pumped full of fear. So we can go one of two ways. We can go down the rabbit hole of how can I pivot, how can I win, how can I listen, how can I adapt, how can I contribute? Or we can go down the rabbit hole of this is near and dear, this is doom and gloom, the world's falling apart, this is terrible, watch the news, and just literally, if people knew what that happened to ourselves on a biochemical level, a neurochemical level, when we did that, we wouldn't do that. You know, if we really understood about the brain, how it operates, and how neural networks are created, we would stop doing that. I think as a generation, we're going down the damn wrong rabbit hole. And our awareness, my job today, I look at raising awareness and changing behavior. I don't care if I'm politically correct. It doesn't bother me. If people don't like me, cool, no worries. I was liberated from the thoughts and the opinions of others a long time ago, and it's one of my greatest feelings. So as you're going through this, I want you to think what greatness is in you. What greatness is in your company? What greatness is in your employees? Because there's so many ways to win. And people are so focused on the bullshit and so focused on the doom and gloom and so focused on the fear, we forget that we're freaking awesome. And we don't do this. Like we screwed things up before, yeah. But also, have we done great things? If you're on this call, I believe you are, because people, as they freak out there, it's people in here who are thriving, who are feeling empowered, who are surrounding themselves with positivity. So I'm going to go through my my little presentation here. It'll probably be around 30, 45 minutes. I'm used to being on stage, man. So I like when the chat box gets fired up, because just like, Steve just said, it's like, you get the applause, and I got screens up because I do a ton of online events. So I'm trying to simulate like a live event. So I like when the chat box lights up. So if you give a thumbs up or something you like or something you don't like, I'm going to go through this, and then we can have a Q&A. I strongly encourage and empower people to ask questions. Anything's on the table, life, business. And if I don't know the answer, if I feel like I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. So as we go through this, I want you just to think what greatness is in you, what greatness is possible. And I think one of the greatest things is that really there is so many ways to win right now. And this is the thing that I made as soon as COVID hit. My business pivoted, and I said, look, there's going to be ways to win. You guys are all in real estate. I mean, during an economic recession, aren't there more millionaires and billionaires made? Then we should all be kind of like this, because it's a great way to help people. So I truly think this is the greatest time to be alive. Now, I look at quotes, and I share a lot of them, but I look at them in this way, not to post on social media, not to say, oh, this would be good to post on social. I look at them in two ways. Number one, did the guy change the course of human history, or the woman? And two, can I implement it in my life? That's it. And then I live by that shit. I don't just post it. So Viktor Frankl is somebody that I bring up a lot. And what he said was, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms. To choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. If you don't know who Viktor Frankl is, I'm going to get into that in a little bit later. But ultimately, the guy was in Auschwitz. The most unfathomable, inhumane thing to ever happen in human history, arguably. And he wrote a book called The Man's Search for Meaning. His mother and his father and his wife were burned alive. Like, just let that come home. His mother, his father, and his wife were burned alive. And he said to choose one's own attitude in any set of circumstances. He didn't say to choose one's attitude when it's all rainbows and ice cream out there. Quite frankly, anybody can thrive in 2013, 14, 15, 16. Who wasn't thriving in that point? But he said in any set of given circumstances to choose one's own way. So I look at that when the shitstorm comes. Now, when there's so many ways to win, I always ask people when I'm in a live audience, I say, how are you? And I wonder what people say. So I always give fun work, and I say, ask somebody how they are. And you'll hear this. not dead yet, I'm okay, been better. And it's amazing how we program ourselves every single second of every single day, of every single month, of every single year of our life. And if we knew what really took place on a cellular level, we would stop saying that crap. So when I ask that question, I always want people to say, great, whether it's true or whether it's not. We can trick our minds to feel a certain way. And that's where the winners, I feel, play. So whenever I ask somebody how you are, I always like them to say, great. I'm an implementational speaker. I want you to take one thing today, just one. I'll give you a whole bunch. And this is recorded so you can come back to it. But just take one and do it today. Not next week, not tomorrow, tonight. Do it tonight. If you like what you hear and you learn something, all I ask is to share a vision. My kind of mission in life is to help solve the world's happiness problem. I think we got a happiness problem. We're taking more pills and we're sicker than we've ever been. That's a happiness problem. How do you figure that? And I think we're in a society that's lazy. I think we're here, I think we live in a society that says, take a pill, feel better. Take a pill, feel better. Take a pill, feel better. Well, bullshit. I think we have truly everything in our brain and body to make ourselves feel abundant and awesome. So as we go through it, and I want people to think of I've done a lot of research. I got a book on my bookshelf. It's an entire book on smiling and what that does in the human anatomy. So we have all these muscles and these organs in the body. And when I'm in a live audience, I always ask people, what is the most powerful organ or muscle? And a lot of people say the heart, some people say the legs, but it is unequivocally, and I got it right back in me in case I ever forget, but the Dean of Self-Development said the brain is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. And that's Earl Nightingale. They called him the Dean of Self-Development. He was a mentee of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. So if he tells me that the brain is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known, I'm not going to argue with the guy. I'm just going to learn how to condition it. I'm just going to learn how to program it within my business, and especially in real estate. We know how powerful the brain is because of the placebo effect. One person gets a sugar pill, one person gets the drugs or whatever, both are healed. Well, the person that got the sugar pill, what healed that person? The 6 inches right here, in pun intended, but the most valuable real estate any of us will ever have. We also know this through hypochondriacs, people who think they're sick all the time, and then they become sick. And we call it fear. And the code, what really is fear, but the code word is stress. So we don't want to say I'm fearful because that comes from weakness. So we categorize it and we camouflage it and we call it stress. Because if I'm fearful, I'm weak. But if I'm stressed, I'm a hard worker. So we label it in a way that we think serves us, but it doesn't. We're running from the fear. Why don't we address the fear and face it head on? We also know this from elderly couples. 2 people grew up in great health. They love each other for 90 years. And then one passes away. What happens to the next one? Well, they pass away really fast after being in perfect health for 90 years. Well, what are they thinking about? Death, loneliness, despair, sadness, all these things. And the great thing is that there is one great all-natural antidote. There is one you don't have to drink anything for it. We don't have to take anything for it. It's not a pill. It's in limitless supply. It's free to everybody. And it's going to sound very simple because it is, but it's simply gratitude. And this goes far beyond just positive thinking. This goes into neurochemistry, biochemistry, biological reactions in the cell. If we truly knew what stress does in the cell, in the mitochondria of the cell, how it destroys cells, how when that cell loses its electrical charge, it creates yeast and candida in the blood, which eats up our glucose. Now our glucose, we get tired, and it creates more acid and more acid. And there's one easy way to do that, which is an attitude of gratitude. So this goes far beyond positive thinking. And this is just, I'm going to share a best practice. This is my gratitude poem. You guys can all have it if you want. But I read this every day, literally every single day before I start my day. And this is the challenge side of it. I think it's the greatest antioxidant on the planet.
Hey, Ricky, how many days in a row did you read that? Didn't you have like a huge streak going?
Yeah. So I started this in July 1st of 2015. And until this morning, I have missed 2 days. I missed one additional day. I was at the Super Bowl with Dave Meltzer and I was up all night. I freaking missed it. Up until then, I had missed 1 day since January 6th of 2016. So I've missed 2 days now since January 1st, July 1st, 2015. But I don't miss, or I miss such a small percentage of the time because I know what it does for my day. So I read this, and my first one is, I am grateful for the screaming baby on the plane because it means that I can hear. I used to bitch and complain about the screaming baby. I would fly from LA to New York and I can sleep like a baby. I'd be on one of the aisle seats with my neck thing. I can sleep like a baby. The lights dim down. I'm out. And then a screaming baby goes behind me. I hated that. Like, I was like, I apologize to people who have kids, but I was like, somebody shut that baby up or I'm going to fucking shut it up. Like, I was pissed. And then I learned about self-accountability and I'm like, the baby's not freaking me out. I'm freaking me out. And I was like, man, how many people would kill to hear that screaming baby that can't hear? So I think we use gratitude one day a year when it's Thanksgiving and we say, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. And it's like preparing for a marathon going downhill. We just use it when it's easy. I say use it when it's hard. That way we find it more often. So that's the challenge side. And then I read an easy side. This is the easy things. I am grateful for my mom, my dad, and Ceci. That's my sister, because they show me a great way to live and a great way to love. I'm grateful for my friends, both near and far, because they allow me to share life. These are the things that are very easy to be grateful for. These are the things that are a little bit more challenging. And these are the things that usually are people are complaining and bitching about. So I look at it as, if you look at oxidative stress, you take an apple, you cut it open, you leave it on the counter, it browns. That means it's rusting. That's oxidative stress. That's what happens within our cell, okay? Now, that's why we want antioxidants. This is a natural antioxidant, but instead of just pumping our stuff with supplements, don't get me wrong, I take a lot of supplements, but here's one that's free, it's in limitless supply, it's available to everybody, so we can use it anytime we want. And I have been called annoyingly positive, I have been called an unreal optimist, I have been called, I got my head in the sand, I don't see what's going on with the world, and I don't look at limitations. Well, you're damn right, I don't look at limitations. Why the fuck would I spend my time looking and focusing on something that I cannot control? I'm going to look at potential. I'm going to look at possibility. That serves me. Now I can stay consistent and persistent into the pursuit of my goals and dreams, and for me and the ones that I love. So then when I understand that, and this goes into business too, any business coaching, sales tactics, strategy, I go over this first because I believe it's the foundation. And now I start to understand accountability. Accountability is a word we all throw out there, man. We all throw out there. We say, yeah, we should all be accountable. And then something happens and we start playing the blame game. I haven't worn my shirt tonight. Like, this is a reminder of I am accountable. Good, bad, indifferent, it's on me. You know, so that's just what I believe. And when we look at responsibility and hyphenate that word, it's our ability to choose the response. Look what's happening in our world today. I have two choices. I can go down the rabbit hole that does not serve me, bitch and complain, doom and gloom, fear, or I can say, what an opportunity to actually create some change in the world and the time that I live in. We are 1 in 400 trillion to freaking be born. Not only is it a miracle to be born, what a great miracle to be born at this time to make change for us and the ones that we love. So that is our ability to choose. But when bad things happen, we forget it. And we're so programmed to go to negativity because the brain is programmed to keep us safe and to conserve energy. That is the brain's major functions. Keep us safe, conserve energy. So abundance and prosperity is our job, but it's constantly looking for negativity. So our job is to give it a different response mechanism. There's an inner world and an outer world. I cannot control what goes on out there, but I can control what goes on in here. So when I understand this, this is what people hire me for. When people ask me to come speak or whatever, after I usually get hired for health and fitness for whatever reason. So I use this as an example. People always ask me, Ricky, I want to lose weight and be healthy. Awesome. What do you got to do? I got to eat well and I got to work out. Like, not rocket science, right? So then I ask, well, what happens if we eat like crap and we don't work out? Well, I'm going to be fat and unhealthy. Again, I'm not here to be politically correct. If this were all to it, people answer this in a live audience within 2 seconds. Bam, done. This is not rocket science. So then people say knowledge is power. Well, if knowledge were power and we all knew what to do, then we would be the most fit country in the world. Yet we're the most obese country in the world. We are fat and out of shape. I'm not here to be politically correct. I'm here to raise awareness and change behavior. So if this were true, with knowledge were power, we'd be the most fit, but we're not, because it's not. So if we dig in a little bit deeper, the feeling that I have, if I'm in an inspired state, if I get to start the engine and I want to do these things, and I want to eat well, and I want to work out because I want a heightened level of vitality. I want to live a long life for my kids, my grandkids, whatever the case may be. If I put myself in that state, I'm more likely to do this. Now, this is applicable to your business, whether it's cold calling in real estate, as real estate agents and investors and brokers, where you guys are dream facilitators. That's how I look at it. When I sit down with prosperity plans and goals, number 1 or 2, every single time is I want to own my own home. That's what everybody tells me. So you guys help facilitate dreams. That should not be taken for granted. So if I put myself in that type of state that I'm a dream facilitator, now it's easier to go ahead and make those 100 cold calls or whatever it is I need to do. And then the results of formality. However, if I live or choose to be in an uninspired state, then I'm not going to take the actionable item. I'm not really a dream facilitator. It would be nice to make those 100 calls. Maybe somebody will buy, maybe somebody will invest, maybe they won't. If I choose to put myself in that bullshit state, then no wonder I'm not going to put in the effort, and I'm not going to take the action, and I'm not going to put the result. So those feelings will dictate everything. Now, for people who like to work out, I always ask in a live audience, I say, look, whatever workout you like to do, whether it's cardio, weights, CrossFit, whatever, and you think in a half hour to an hour, whatever it is you work out for, I want you to think about how you feel after the workout. Chances are you feel freaking great. You feel like you can take on the world. You might be tired, you might be exhausted, but you feel a sense of accomplishment, like I did it. Well, that's because after the workout, we've gone through the hard thing and we feel awesome. The reason why is we have endorphins coursing through our body. That's the reason why. Biochemically and neurochemically, we have endorphins coursing through our body. So I can think of how to do that. Now, if I go to work out and I think of, oh, I'm tired. If I think of, people in the beginning of the year, they say, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to go run 10 miles. And they say, I'm going to eat lettuce. I'm going to meditate for 4 hours. This is people's vitality plan at the beginning of the year. And it doesn't quite work out that way. And then a month in, because we rely on willpower, then a month in, it's 5 a.m., it's dark outside, it's cold, you're nice and warm under the covers, but it's cold outside, it's dark outside. That alarm hits 5.00, 5 o'clock, and it goes, People say, screw it, never mind, hit the snooze button, because we're relying on willpower. So what this basically tells me, that the things that I think will dictate a state of mind. That state of mind will determine whether I take the actionable items or whether I don't take the actionable items. It's that simple. And that actionable item, it's not rocket science. We get the result that we deserve. So this is transactional, and this is where people live, I believe, most of the time in life, in business, in relationships, in everywhere, an aspect of their life, because they're not taught the intangible. The intangible is what I cannot see, my thinking and my feeling. I can see what you do. I can see damn well what actions you take, and I sure as shit can see your results. What I cannot see is the thoughts that you think and the state of mind that you're in. So this is where the champions live. And this is where I put all my emphasis. If I can control this, this is a formality. I never go here. So when I start looking at that, I'm like, that's where I want to play in my life, in my business, because if you as investors or agents or whatever capacity it is, how many dreams have you facilitated? Have you kept in touch with those people? Have they done a video testimony on how you changed the trajectory of their life? And have you watched it? And do you watch it every day? And do you share that with other people? Do you share that with prospects? Hey, I change lives. That's how I look at my business. It has nothing to do with selling real estate. It has to do with changing life trajectory, facilitating dreams, and changing lives and family lineage. So when we look at that and we choose to put ourselves with these thoughts in this emotional state, now it's a lot easier to do this and this. I see this all the time with parents and kids. Got to get better grades. What do I got to do? Got to study harder, got to do my homework. Got to study harder, got to do my homework. But we're not changing fundamentally how that child feels about learning and education. So when we look at that, and there's a whole bunch of reasons why we look at this, and most people have probably heard of this, but the reticular activating system, it's a part of the brainstem that simply pulls out what's relevant to you. So when I started speaking, I would have really long, I'm sweating right now. I'm a warm-blooded dude. I sweat a lot. So I would have long sleeved shirts, and I would be sweating all over the audience. Like, not even joking. The people in the front row would be like, dude, are you okay? And hand me a water. I'm just a warm-blooded dude. So I was like, man, that's kind of embarrassing. I kind of got to stop that. So I went to Lululemon. My friend brought me there, and I learned about sweat wicking. And I threw out all my clothes in my closet, and I got all Lululemon because I don't like shopping. I'm like, I'm going to do this one time. So I was there for like probably 5 hours, and I had this whole experience at Lululemon. After that experience, I started to notice the little emblem around everywhere. Now, I always ask people, was that a coincidence, or was it always there? And the answer is, it was always there. And then I usually ask people, you know, name me a phenomenon that's kind of like that, that's kind of come up like that. And if you thought of a car, that's usually the response that I get in a live audience. Oh yeah, when I buy a car, I want a car, I see that car everywhere. For women, the first time they're pregnant, they never notice pregnant women. They get pregnant, now they notice pregnant women everywhere. If that's a piece of our brain, then how are we programming it? Are we programming it for bullshit, to notice bullshit? Are we programming it to notice prosperity, abundance, and contribution? We choose. This is why I believe this life is a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then when we get into the parts of the brain, the conscious, the subconscious, the unconscious, your conscious mind will dictate everything. And love him or hate him, this dude changed my life. But if he tells me all change must happen on a subconscious level, I'm going to learn that shit. I'm going to program it. I want to program it because I want to participate in my own life. I want to be a co-creator in my own life, whether you believe in God, Allah, freaking source energy, universe, whatever it is. I want to be a co-creator. I want to have a say in what happens to me. So that's how I look at programming it. And when you look at the conscious and the subconscious, the conscious operates at, I think it's 40 bits per second. The subconscious operates at 40 million bits per second. I don't know what that means. What I do know is the subconscious runs everything, and the conscious is going to feed the subconscious. So again, what are we thinking about? And then when we start thinking about what we're thinking about, there's good stuff and there's bad stuff. Very simply, the good news and the bad news. The good stuff, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. Awesome chemicals. They make us feel good. That's why we feel good after a workout, because endorphins are coursing through our body. The bad stuff, adrenaline, ephedrine, cortisol, poison, literally poison. Now, whatever we think, we have a thought, electrical, chemical to our brain. Brain secretes a chemical within the hypothalamus. We feel it, good or bad. That means that every thought that we think is going to either empower us or disempower us. That means we have 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Every single one is going to make us feel good or going to make us feel bad. Now, there's no way we can manage that. So how we feel in our emotional state tells us if we're in a good way or not. But that is something that we get to choose. We get to choose. This is why I feel we're in a society that says take a pill, feel better. And I always share, look, before there was Zoloft, before there was all these antidepressants and things like that, what they did to make people feel better was simply take a pen and go like that and just put the pen in their mouth for a few hours. And the reason why is because when I smile, I go like that, my mouth goes like this and my eyes go like that. It thinks I'm smiling. So my brain doesn't know good or bad. It doesn't know. It's just going to feed on what I give it. So when my brain thinks that, I'm going to release some of the good stuff. That's how freaking powerful we really are. And if I had poison up here, nobody would come up and drink it, yet we think it all the time. And it's like, time out, time out, time out. Slow the game down. Let me participate in how I feel. And that, to me, is accountability. Now I can go about my business. Now I can go about the people that I care about. Now I can go, because it slows the game down. I'm not so reactionary for the negativity. So if people want to take like a screenshot of this or take a picture, this is basically the foundation. This is the foundation of everything that I live by. This is the foundation of everything that I preach. This is every foundation of everything that I teach. Every business that I own, every business that I start, every business that I'm asked to run, this is it. This is basically the roadmap to remind myself to stay on course. Now, as we start going at that, when we understand it, we're meaning assigning machines. Something happens, we get to assign the meaning. Look, we're in a world of chaos. The meaning that means to me is that we get to make an impact. How lucky are we to be in a time that we can actually make an impact? That's how I assign meaning to me. And this is, again, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Think about that. His mother, his father, and his wife were burned alive. And he credits this book to getting out of Auschwitz. And he says, those who have a why can bear with almost any how. So when the shitstorm comes, which it'll inevitably come, especially in real estate, it's going to come. It's not about being successful without the obstacles. It's about being successful in spite of the obstacles and thriving in spite of all the challenges. So we just if we assign the correct meaning, now we can do that. And this is another one of my favorite authors, but he says very simply, change the way you look at things you look at change. And I don't know if there's a better saying to live by, because that perspective that I can assign meaning to everything. Again, it's not about assigning meaning when it's all rainbows and ice cream. It's about assigning meaning and going through the shitstorm and learning something from it. So, and this is something that I say all the time. Gratitude is the greatest antioxidant that we know of. It is, in my opinion, it is unfathomable to choose any other way. Now, this is one of my favorites. I'm going to share this with you guys. This is a $100 million company and one of my favorite companies. And it started with one thing. Tell me something good that happened today. I love Life is Good. It's a massive company. That's how it started. Tell me something good that happened today. So I want to share a video. It's about 3 minutes, but I literally have watched this video, I'd say between 30 and 40 times during COVID. And I love it and I want to share it.
Every morning, all of us wake up with a choice to focus on what's wrong in our lives or what's right in our lives. Optimism can take you anywhere.
Like most people, when we got out of college, we really had no idea what we were going to do, but both John and I were interested in doing something artistic.
In other words, avoid getting a real job. So we designed a few shirts and we got out on the streets of Boston and just started hawking them wherever there was foot traffic.
About a year in, we bought a used van called the Enterprise.
We told each other we would boldly go where no t-shirt guys had gone before.
One day, we had this conversation about how the media inundates us with negative information.
And we wondered if we could create a rallying cry for optimists. 3 simple words. Life is good. We printed up our first Life is Good t-shirts and we took them to a street fair.
We sold 48 t-shirts in 45 minutes.
It was like, wow, this is what we've been hoping for all those years, and it was instantaneous. We realized we just gotta open up and listen to people, what they love to do. Swimming, hiking, hanging out with your family, going on road trips, adventures. Let's celebrate these things together. Meanwhile, something way more significant starts to happen. We start getting letters from people going through great adversity, people losing loved ones, people battling cancer. Realizing that we were actually helping people get through these difficult times, it gave our whole brand a deeper meaning and a deeper purpose.
10% of our net profits, no matter what, go to the Kids Foundation.
Kids are the ultimate optimists, and we realize there's a lot of kids dealing with poverty, violence, illness, circumstances way beyond their control. So we created the Life's Good Kids Foundation to help kids heal from various forms of trauma so that they can discover the power of optimism.
We're really just getting warmed up. It's taken us over 20 years to get here, but we've got a great brand and we've got a great community.
They co-write the story with us every day.
We're still talking about gratitude and courage and simplicity. The message is the same. The values are the same.
Can you make the shift to focus on gratitude? That's what optimism is all about. It's not that everything is always great. Life is not easy. Life is not perfect, but life is good.
And I think that's super strong because it's so damn simple. 3 simple words that we forget all the time. But when we look to convert, when the crap comes, how do we convert it? It's okay that it comes, but we don't have to stay there. Come as you are, but don't stay there. And we have an ability to do that and transform that. And then people start asking, what are you doing? How are you doing it? Because you carry a different energy. And if that's not a way to generate business, then I don't know what is. So when I look at the Breakfast of Champions, people ask me all the time, and this is a portion of my morning routine, visualization, prayer, whatever you want to call it. I call it visualization. I don't call it meditation. I don't call it prayer. This is my visualization routine. So I simply say, I'm excited. I'm grateful. I'm excited. I'm proud. I'm grateful for my pulse. I think that is simplistic beauty. We all woke up today. A lot of people had goals and dreams yesterday, and they didn't make it till today. And that's why people, I think, maybe sometimes say, Ricky, you got your head in the sand. Well, no, I look at that as the best way to honor people who didn't make it till today is to live an empowered life surrounded by positive people. I don't have time for the bullshit. Quite frankly, get out of my way. That's the way I look at it. But I'm grateful for my pulse. I'm excited to share my vision with the world. And I'm proud of my ability to convert energy from negative to positive. I am grateful. I am excited. I am proud. I enjoy the persistent pursuit of my potential. I ask for help. I offer help. I just remind myself this is the arena in which I play. Now when the crap comes, I have a little bit different lens on it. I have a little different perspective on it. Now I can start to convert energy quickly and efficiently so I don't stay in the pool of crap too often or for extended periods of time. So I ask people, where do people get their news from? Now, this is just my personal opinion. This is just what I do. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying this is what people need to do. I'm just saying what I want to do. For me, I'm not going to go there. Where I'm going to get my news from is some of my biggest mentors, Les Brown, Tom Bilyeu. If you guys don't know them, look them up. Shanda Sumter. She said one phrase that stuck with me. I've been using it ever since. I actually believe I can change the world. I'm going to look at Lisa Bilyeu, one of my favorite women thought leaders. John Assaraf, a global leader on brain science and how to choose perspective. David Meltzer, a dear mentor and friend. Mel Robbins, another one of my favorite women thought leaders. And Jack Canfield wrote a little book called Chicken Soup for the Soul. I'm on Jack's newsletter. You think his voice is just a little bit different than these voices over here? I think so. Now, does that pay a price of not being informed? For me, it does not. I'm going to choose this arena. People are welcome to choose whatever they want. This is what I choose. And I believe that helps serve me choose a perspective that serves me. And when we look at mentorship, I always say, raise your hand if you had somebody help you in one aspect of your life. Also raise your hand if you've ever helped somebody in your life. And whenever I'm in an audience, usually everybody in the audience, both hands go up at both questions. So that means that we are mentors and mentees. That means we have helped somebody in some aspect of their life. So I always suggest people to create an I Am Great album. You know, when I consult or coach people, you know what they're really, really good at? Telling me of the obscene bullshit that they've done and all the things they've screwed up. You know what nobody tells me is the great stuff that they've done. Does that mean they haven't done any great things and that everything has been crap? No. But what it means is their focus and attention has been on all the crap. Now we know a little bit of how that affects us biochemically, neurochemically, and biologically. So for me, I'll just give you an example. This is in my I Am Great album. And this guy wanted to take his niece and his daughter on a Disney cruise, didn't make any money to be able to do that. He was making 40 grand when I met him. We worked on his prosperity plan. Shit, this is back in 2008, 9, heading into the recession. And we worked together. He made more money than he ever made. And I think his next year was like around 140, 150. Percentage-wise, it was astronomical. And he said, Ricky, I want to share something with you, bro. Let me see if I can get that back up. I took my daughter and my niece on that Disney cruise. Just wanted to thank you for helping me with my goals and all of your support. I wouldn't have been able to do so if you yourself wouldn't have worked as hard as you did to give me and us an opportunity to work with you. I appreciate you, Rick. Thanks again, brother. So I encourage people to make an I Am Great album to remember the freaking greatness that we have within us. Because when I go through a shitstorm, just like everybody else, I have just as many challenges as people. And I face a lot of challenges in my businesses and a lot of different things that piss me off. But I have these tools I go to. So I read that. Now my perception is completely changed. Neurochemically, I literally changed. Biochemically, biological reactions are happening with myself. Those endorphins, the dopamine, the oxytocin, the serotonin, the endorphins, they start cranking. Now I have a little different state of mind. to get back to the actionable item that will serve me. So when we look at that, I'll just share a little bit of my Corona journey. So I made this PowerPoint right when Corona started because I saw it coming. And now even though we're starting to come out of a little bit, there's still going to be a wake of people. So it's never too late to start any of these things. First thing I did, I went on a 7-day alkaline cleanse. I got, in fact, Randy and Steve, I paid, I don't know, a few $100 for it. I'll send you guys the whole cleanse, the day 1, day 2. If you guys want it, feel free to share it with the whole group. I do this cleanse a couple times a year. Cleanse doesn't do it a great work because you actually eat more on this cleanse than any cleanse. And it's about training your brain how to feed off of omega-3s and omega-9s, healthy fats, to stop the sugar craving. I love it. I measure the pH of my body, the acidity and the alkalinity. It's the first thing I did. And then I started having family vitality Zooms. I've talked more with my mom and my dad and my sister now than I ever have. I repivoted my children's book. My children's book was ready to go. We were launching, and I rewrote it. It's going to come out as a trilogy now because I think we're going to write another one for the racial injustices that we're seeing. So I repivoted a book that I had spent a year on, but I repivoted to make it true for the times. I'm currently building a site for an online mastermind. I reached out to more entrepreneurs for content advice, just like Steve and Randy said. When our mentors like Cole, and when they say, hey man, why aren't we making some money together? Hell yeah. So I started reaching out to people for more advice. I shot a video I've been wanting to do since last June. And last June, I've been wanting to make this video. So I was like, okay, perfect. I have the time to be able to do that. I have 3 home-based businesses that exploded in the health and wellness space. It looks like it took a global pandemic for people to actually invest in their health. I reach out to my mentors more often to learn and collaborate, Cole being one of them. I've done more online keynotes in the last probably 2 months than I did in-person keynotes than I did in the previous probably 4 months. So I asked myself, how did I get better today? What new skills am I acquiring? And how is my mind getting sharper? And I think those 3 questions, they're applicable, not just now. These are applicable in the next 6, 12, 18 months. I think the greatest thing about coronavirus is that there's going to be more rock stars that come out of this. And why can't that be you? And when we look at strength grows through struggle, these are another one of those things we post on social media. We say this, but do we freaking live by it, And so let's look at a couple that came out of the last recession. I also went through the last recession and had made more money than I ever made. But let's look at a little company, Uber. $11.2 billion was founded in 2009. How about a company founded in 2008? That's $2.6 billion, Airbnb. And then founded in 2009 also, that's $300 million. It's Venmo. So I always ask, what greatness can we create, especially in the real estate field? Especially in the real estate field. So adapt, innovate, thrive, and how to create confidence in certain times. So this is just a little plug and play. When I'm through it, if you want to take a screenshot, whether you're able to go to work right now or not, or whether you're an agent or not, people, one of the biggest things was, well, I used to get dressed up and I used to leave the house. Okay, so get dressed up and don't leave the house, but still put yourself in the same state by doing the same things. And not only that, but when you share that with people, that's going to separate you. That in and of itself can help you earn business, I believe. Find your why and your what. So a little video, Simon Sinek, this guy, Google the golden circle. I'm sure a lot of people on the call have heard it. But that is why I gave up a very, very comfortable mid-6-figure job to make nothing for 8 months and start my business. It was unbelievable. Create a personal vision statement. This is one thing, we were on the call with Andy Frisella, and one thing that he said really struck with me. And so I took part of it and I created just a real quick personal vision statement. I believe this can be our finest hour to show courage under fire for my family and clients. What if you took that, you started sharing that with clients, you took a video, and I'm still learning selfie videos. It still makes me uncomfortable. I'd rather be in front of 3,000, 5,000 people than take a selfie video. But then I tell myself, get the F over myself and share it again. I ask myself 2 questions. Do I sincerely believe this? And then number 2, does it inspire me? If it's check, I share. I don't worry about how people are going to perceive me. I don't worry about how it's going to be interpreted. If it inspires me and I believe in it, I share it. Very simple. And then the relationships. Your network is your net worth. We say this all the time. We say it all the time. but the last 3 months has never been a better time to grow relationships. And we will have even a more advantageous time going to the 3 and 6 months in real estate. Now, you guys are the experts, not me, but I will tell you this. We always say such and such didn't pay my bills. Well, coronavirus paid 6 months of my mortgage. I live in Southern California, a block from the ocean. I have a pretty hefty mortgage. That's not going to last forever. And when that stops, there, in my interpretation, there is going to be some serious carnage about that. How are we positioned to be able to help people to not really get in a really, really tough spot, but also help ourselves? So relationship building is everything. And then Tony Robbins says it all the time, the secret to living is giving. So, you know, Randy and Steve say, I've heard this all the time with for-purpose businesses, but that's why I also like the Life is Good. 10% goes to the Kids Foundation. So what type of things are you sharing when you generate revenue? And are you sharing that with people and potential prospects? Why not? And I always say, look, we're making an impact one way or another. For women on the call, I think the world is starving for women empowerment. And actually, this is Cole's little daughter. I always show this, Brighton Hatter. Give her a follow, give her a join. I like saying join, not follow. But she's 7 years old. For those of us, I don't have kids, but for those of that you do, they're watching and they are learning, whether they know it or not, admit it or not, or like it or not. They are learning how to deal with adversity by watching us. So we have a much bigger responsibility here than really just getting through it. We want to teach women and young people how to thrive. This is another mentor of mine. She's 11 years old. She plays the electric violin on 3rd Street Promenade. And she told me the best definition of goal setting that I've ever heard from an 11-year-old. If you have goals, you can grow up and be more than what you were. Carolina Protsenko. Now, she's been on like the Ellen Show. She's massive. She's awesome. Give her a join as well. But we're teaching people whether we know it or not because people are watching. So this is what Andy Frisell said. He said, be there for your family in your community now. They will be there for you later. So there are unprecedented times in banking, and you can call and ask for your clients. Cold calling, decision makers are home. If we're cold calling, man, decision makers are home. Like they're home. Not only are they home and they're not really going anywhere, they are more open to listening because they're being forced to listen. People's minds are being forced to open up. That's another reason number 782, why coronavirus can be advantageous if we look at it in the right perspective. And you know, if people don't know, to us, it might sound easy. Look, you can call your mortgage company, you can ask for forgiveness, but it doesn't mean it's easy and that knowledgeable to other people. You know how many times I've helped people just say, hey, call the bank, see what they can do for you. Call the credit card, see if they can give you another 5 months, 0%. Maybe not, but it's worth the ask. To us, it's because we do it every day. It's so easy and simple. It's like a no-brainer, but it's not a no-brainer to everybody else. So call and ask how you can be of service and share your wins within the group. That's one thing we do at Thrive and Connect is share the different wins that we've had with other people. And this is another big mentor. He says, I'm gonna spread happiness like a virus you've never seen and strengthen the shit out of my immune system at the same time. And that's David Meltzer. I love that guy. Give him a join as well. But when we look at it, this is one of my children's books in rhyme. Dr. Seuss is a massive, massive mentor. This is one of the quotes that I live by. It's also right behind me. And I think I make this joke a lot, but my full name is Ricardo Alberto Mendez. And I got a C- in college Spanish class. So I'm not the brightest bulb out there, but I can follow direction, man. If somebody tells me that something will increase the quality of my life, I'm going to do it. If I trust them, I'm going to do it. And I think this is the most simple way to put it. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. You're on your own, you know what you know, and you are the one who decides where you go. And I think that's the ultimate spiff on accountability. I think that's how we look at it. And we play the blame game and we say, coronavirus did this, coronavirus did that, the pandemic did this, you know, it's trying times. I can't be, the dialogue that we create in our brains is just asinine to me. And we can absolutely go in the opposite direction and create a whole new dialogue. So that's where I spend a lot of my time. And that's where I spend a lot of my focus. And that's where I spend a lot of my energy and my creation, really. So two of my favorite words, thank you. So that's kind of that's kind of what I got for you guys. And again, this before I go into any process procedure, I'm working a lot with Compass, Keller Williams, Nest Seekers. And I always share this before we go into the cold calling, the strategies, the words, the phrases, the marketing, the branding, all that kind of stuff. Because without this, in my opinion, you don't have the foundation. So that's why I always kind of I like to share that first. And really appreciate everybody being on. And obviously, thank you to Steve and Randy for having me. But I'm happy to answer any questions if you guys have any, or if you want to throw some out. Thanks for firing up the chat box. I always love that.
Dude, what a friggin' honor to have you here and present that. That was above and beyond what we ever could have imagined. And dude, if y'all like that, Ricky, put your thing on here. Like, give Ricky some hands here. Show him some hands. If you like that, everyone there, show him some hands. Drop it in the comments there. Ricky just loves being loved on. So give the guy some love right now and just tell him how amazing that was. That was incredible. Thanks, dude.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, but I love what you guys are doing. And, but yeah, feel free to either unmute yourself, ask a question, or if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to stay on for a little bit.
If anyone has a question, if you just want to put in the chat box, I have a question, we can unmute you quickly, or unmute yourself and ask the question would be great. If you don't have any questions, I have one that I can ask quickly to start things off. And it's obviously in this time, it's very hard, and you have your gratitude poem in the morning. What do you do at the evening before you go to bed? Is there something you do in the evening before you go to bed that you say to yourself, or do you just repeat the gratitude poem, or what do you do?
Yeah, I actually have a 6-minute little kind of headphone visualization wind down type thing. I'm happy to share it with you guys. It's about 6.5 minutes. I haven't been as consistent at that as I have in the morning. In my opinion, the morning sets everything up. It sets my mental set point. It sets my ability to deal with challenges. It sets everything up. So I'm much more cognizant of the morning than I am of the nighttime. But for me, the nighttime is really simple. I do put my phone away from my bed, and then I try to listen to that 6-minute recording, and that's the last thing that I see or hear before I go to sleep. But I'm happy to share that. I'll text it to you guys. You guys can share it with the group if you want.
Of what Simon just said. Ricky winding down, can't see it. Dude's got too much energy.
I crash hard because I work my brain out during the day. So at night I'm ready to go to sleep. I sleep like a baby.
I know I'd probably say a third of our audience is over in Eastern time zone. So I know it's getting pretty late there. So it might not be as chatty. Marlisa just asked, what is the best way to starting an online presence in your opinion? Facebook Lives, Facebook, free downloads?
Yeah, online presence, that's something that I'm starting to learn still as well. But I would just start sharing, man. Like whatever you believe in, share it. And I think a lot of people don't, because they get so hesitant. I think it was a year, I had no social media, none. And it's not like I have this huge following or anything, but I had zero. And my limiting beliefs around it were, it's egotistical, it's self-promotional. I was so far in my own way, and I gave up my job. I quit, and I was like, I'm gonna build this business. I'm gonna be a speaker consultant. And everyone's like, dude, you gotta be on Instagram to do that. And I'm like, no, I don't. Screw that. And I'm like, and then I had to really check myself and be like, why do I have these beliefs? And it was because my ego was getting in the way, and I was scared of how people would interpret what I'm saying. Would anybody like it? Would anybody comment on it? All that crap. And at the time, something, I think it was Gary Vee that really, really helped me. He was like, look, if you share one thing and inspires one person, the shit's worth it. Like, why would you deprive the world of maybe helping that one person for people that were gonna, judge you or whatever? And I was like, golly, that's a good perspective. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna look at it two ways. Does it inspire me? Do I believe in it? I'm gonna throw it out there. Be damned, the chips fall where they may. Does it inspire me? And do I believe in it? And then just start sharing it. And if you watch that Simon Sinek Golden Circle, you will start to attract people who believe what you believe. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just start sharing. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be well produced. Just start sharing. The world needs more authenticity. I'll tell you that. Everybody waits till shit's perfect. It doesn't have to be. I would just share what's in your mind and your body and your heart.
Hey, bro, I got a question, man. And first off, I'll use your two favorite words. Thank you for just that pop of energy and just sharing all that wisdom, man. That was friggin' brilliant. And I've missed you so much because of that.
Thank you.
For somebody who's, perhaps new to like practicing gratitude or maybe it's just like, healthier self-talk or anything along those lines, it can be really challenging to establish new habit. How do you build that consistency for people who want to establish that new type of habit?
Absolutely. And that's why change is so hard. Our brains are not meant to be prosperous. Our brains are to conserve energy and keep us safe. That's it. That is the brain's major function. So when you look at the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known, and it's just meant to keep us safe and conserve energy, and then we try to do change, the brain's going to be like, hey, asshole, hold up. I don't like this. This is different. And then that's why we quit. So if you look at neural networking, oh gosh, I'd love to go off on a little tangent, but when you look at the neural networks and how we create them, it's consistency. So the short answer is lower the bar. If you're going to start I'll even share, this is how I started my morning routine. I have this little book that my mom gave me, and I wanted to just read a quote, real simple little quote every day. I kept missing a day. I'd get to 20 days. I couldn't even do 30. And I was like, this is enough. True story, I took my stopwatch out. I hit start. I read the quote. I'll just read this one. It says, "We are all something, but none of us are everything." Blaise Pascal perspective, March 22nd. Stopped it. It was like 8 seconds. And I was like, I can't spend 8 seconds to change my life. I mean, are you kidding me? That's how small I started. Now I go through a gratitude challenge side, a gratitude easy side, a self-confidence formula from Napoleon Hill. I read a personal constitution on the way that I want my life and intend my life to look like. I go through my prosperity plan, money goals, health goals, relationship goals, contribution goals. I read 10 quotes, I read 10 affirmations, 6 quotes, and the Happy to Be Alive poem. It takes me about 20 to 30 minutes, but it took me years to get there. So people hear that, and that's why I challenge people at the beginning of the year. They're like, yeah, I'm going to meditate for, an hour a day. I'm like, no, you're not. You may think you are, but your brain's going to it's going to fight tooth and nail. So lower the bar. If you want to do something, and if it's a gratitude poem, write one line. I am grateful for whatever, because whatever. Like literally start so low that you can do it every day. The universe does not reward scale. It does not reward scale. It will reward consistency over a long enough timeline. So when people want to start that, if you start small enough, then you have a much better chance of making it a lifestyle change. And when we go to, let's not call it a diet, please. Please don't call it a diet. I beg and encourage and empower people not to call it a diet. It's a lifestyle change when people want to change their lifestyle. But lowering the bar.
I think that's gold, because so many people think like, all right, I have to get there now. I have to do it now. And it's not necessarily about changing that, hardwire switch. It's so hard to do like on the instant and keep that going for years and years and years. We're all young enough here on this call that we can take our time, like starting off with the bare minimum, building that into a practice, getting that like 21 days down. So I think that's the typical time frame it takes a human to build a new habit. And then adding someone on after that second time, adding something on after that third time, and slowly building and banking off of foundation that you built. And then as you look back, you kind of get re-energized from all of the progress that you've made. And then you get to a point where for me, it's probably around that like 30-day mark where I just don't want to fail at this point. It's not even about like doing it every single day. It's more so like, I can't fucking break this, this streak that I'm on. Maybe it's just a little OCD, but I don't know.
No, that's great. And I would tell people what you're doing because it helps hold you accountable. There's a reason why I would always say January 6, 2016, I haven't missed a day. I go to the Super Bowl with Meltzer, freaking missed a day. So now I have to say I've missed 2 days since July 1st of 2015. But I tell people that. So when I get up, I'm like, hey man, there's a lot of people that I tell this to, so I got to hold myself accountable to this. So I think the other thing is to share what you're doing.
I loved what, I think it was Tom asked was, when you first start doing all this, it seems like you're faking it in the beginning. How do you get past that with a lot of the positive self-talk?
Yeah, and you are, and that's okay. Like, you know, I think it's so, if I tell myself I'm going through a shitstorm and I'm telling myself I'm great, I'm great, I'm great, it's okay that it's not actually true. Because if we really understand the brain is going to act off what we feed it. If I'm telling myself that I'm tricking my brain so I can feel better and I can have a higher quality of life for me and the ones that I love, to me that's justifiable. I got no problem with that because I understand brain manipulation, I understand neural networking, and you don't have to understand all that stuff to just say, hey, I'm going to take control over what I think. I'm going to tell myself how I feel. I am not going to be a victim to everybody and everything out in the world. I decide how I feel. And right now I feel fucking great. And I will go to the mirror and I'll say that if I need to, if it's a really big, crop storm that we're going through. But I don't really need to anymore. I'm able to convert stuff really fast, but I've also put years of practice in, so it will feel bullshit. It will feel like you're faking it. That's okay. Stay with it. It's just like when you go out and say you want to get in shape, you've never gone running more than 10 miles and you go to run a mile, your body's like, whoa, hold up. I'm sore. I'm achy. I don't know what am I doing. My heart's pumping like I've never felt before. Same difference, but we justify it when it's physical. We unjustify it when it's mental. Just keep the same process for both.
It's awesome, man. And I just want to, I don't know if there's any other questions we've got coming in, but I just want to make a connection here between like Ricky's outlook on life, the energy that he has, and, I think everybody here can probably agree with me when we say like, I want to be more like Ricky, right? And, pair that to the conversation we had before when we're talking about networking, and we're talking about, presenting yourself to a potential partner, like who do you want to be in that seat? Do you want to be the Debbie Downer, or do you want to be goes with R for Ricky, the Ricky what's that?
Rambunctious, maybe.
Rambunctious Ricky, yeah, exactly. You want to present that intense, like, optimism, like just full out freaking huge heart dude, and that's the kind of guy that like just people want to be more around with. So if you can just like up that level, even just 1% a month, that's a huge growth, and more people just be more attracted to you. And I think that's just something that is really easy that we can all do, is just try one thing for the next 21 days or whatever, and just build into your pattern of your life. It's just a little bit of gratitude, saying thank you to somebody, smiling, and just doing simple pieces that he's just talked about that relate specifically to you, to just improve 1% a day.
Cool.
Absolutely. And just share. I mean, people need it, man. People need it right now. People got a lot of fear in their eyes. I go out running by the ocean. When I run by somebody, I make it a point to like look in their eyes, smile, give them a thumbs up. Like, people are just fearful right now, and you look at the unemployment, and it's worse since the Great Depression, biggest global pandemic, social unjust. It's all that stuff. People need it. People need it.
Unbelievable, dude. Well, thank you so much, man. I know we want to be a little cautious of your time. You've given us a lot of yours. So, dude, we cannot thank you enough for that. I'm sure you'll be getting hit up with a bunch of stuff. And if you guys enjoyed that, again, just leave some thank yous for Ricky in the chat box. He would love it. And we'd love to show our support, man. We really appreciate you coming out, getting the gang all fired up. We'll have this recorded and put back out to our community. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of love coming your way in the next little while. So again, thank you for your time, dude. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks meeting everybody. Thank you guys. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon, and hope all is well. Thanks again. Thanks for having me.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, buddy. Appreciate it. And just finishing up here, guys. I can do this. For those of you that are staying on quickly, just to see us off. If you guys enjoyed this, go hop on our Facebook and give a quick review. That's how we're able to expand and grow this meetup and get some value out there for people so they can see it and appreciate it. Hop on our Facebook, give us a quick review. Goes a long way for us. Check out our community on Facebook. As always, lots of action in there, lots of positivity. Steve and I'll be working a lot on that gratitude inside the community, supporting people with it. and growing from there. And our next meetup, July 21. You'll see an email coming out to anyone that came in getting you fired up for that one. It's going to be great. I believe we have our mortgage broker coming in to speak about what is going on in the mortgage world. It's just as interesting as Ricky is for sure. And there's a lot of amazing content that's going to be coming out next month as well. So keep an eye in the community for our road trip. And with that, thank you all for coming out. Give us a follow and hope you enjoyed it.